So, good evening, everyone. Today, we are going to discuss about C sharp. We're going to discuss about the language C sharp. Uh, so, uh, okay, guys. Tell me. Uh, First, tell me what is a programming language? Okay? So, what is a programming language? So, what, what do we mean by language? Like language, we know language is a tool, right, to communicate with people, right? So using like language is there to uh, communicate with people, right? So both people, like there, if there are two people, so when they want to communicate, like let's say both are English. So using English, they communicate with each other, right? So what is the programming language? The programming language is the same. A programming language is a tool to communicate with the computer. The programming language is a tool to communicate with the computers, right? So today we are going to learn about C sharp. So what is a computer program, right? So a computer program is an instruction set. What do we mean by communicating with a computer, right? So what do we mean by communicating with the computer? So that means we are giving some instructions to the computer to execute, right? So the computer will execute our program and give us the desired outcome. Let's say we want to calculate two numbers, right? So we gave the computer two uh, two numbers, let's say two numbers, and we say computer to give me the uh, summation, right? So he will process uh, he will process that instruction and give me the desired outcome. So what is a computer program? So a computer program is a set of instructions. So we write that set of instructions using a programming language. So uh, right. So here, you know, computer can only understand binary, right? Computers can only understand ones and zeros, but as humans, we are not able to like program using binary, right? Therefore, the scientist has developed programming languages. So they are like English, like there are the programming languages has in English like syntax. So using the programming language, we write some instructions. So then when we run the program, what's happening is the program will get convert into the binary code. We say it's compiled. So the program get compiled into the binary code, and the computer will execute that binary code. Right? Right. So one such programming language is C sharp, right? So C sharp was developed by Microsoft, and so it's pronounced as C sharp, right? So C sharp is a statically typed, object-oriented programming language that runs on .NET framework, right? So this definition has three things to consider. So C# is a statically typed language. It is object oriented and it's run on .NET framework. So let's understand what each of what is the meaning of the three keywords. Like C# is a statically typed, object oriented programming language that runs on .NET framework. Right. So using C Sharp, we can develop mobile application, desktop application, web applications, games, etc. So it is a widely using language in the industry. So right, it's a widely using language in the industry. So first we will understand what is framework, right? Right. So what is a framework? Right? What is a framework? A framework is a pre-built collection of libraries, tools, and best practices that provides a structured way to develop a software application. So, what do we mean by that? So, okay, it is a pre-built collection. So, the framework is like a tool set, right? So, there we the you a framework is a tool set, right? So we can use that tool set to develop things, right? When we are programming, we do not build things from the scratch, right? So like we use uh, libraries, like frameworks, like what libraries. We use things like that. So using them, we build the programs, right? The framework is a toolkit, right? It's a like a collection of it's a collection of libraries, tools, and best practices to develop software applications. Right? So when we want to develop application with C Sharp, so we are using a framework called .NET framework, right? It is also developed by Microsoft, right? So what is .NET framework? So it is a software development framework, like it is a combination or toolkit that has libraries uh, 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 like uh, that has built-in libraries likewise. So it is a toolkit that we can use to develop C sharp uh, based application. Not only C sharp, actually .NET framework. Using .NET framework, we can develop VB, Python, like application. So it gives us uh, uh, pre-built like uh, tools, like uh, pre-built things to develop web applications, mobile applications, likewise, right? Hope you understood what is a framework. So there is something called .NET Core. Like in the initial days, .NET was only supported by .NET was only used for mobile application, Windows-based application development. So then they introduced .NET Core. Using .NET Core, we can develop cross-platform application. Right? Cross-platform means like for different operating systems. Like using .NET Core, we can develop applications that runs on Linux-based operating systems. Likewise, right? So, uh, right. So .NET Core is a cross-platform open source version of .NET Framework. Right. Uh, these are some components of .NET Framework, like CLR, Common Language Runtime. So uh, it it is using for manage manages execution, memory allocation, and exception handling and garbage collection is doing by CLR. And there is ASP.NET. So using ASP.NET, we can build it is a toolkit for developing web applications and services. And there's ADO.NET. Uh, so it is using to connect with databases and likewise. So .NET framework is a toolkit. It gives us pre-built tools to uh, develop application so if we want to connect with the database, we can use ADO.NET. If we want to uh, create a web application, we can use ASP.NET, right? So we don't need to uh, develop from the scratch. So they give us the template, so we can develop on that, right? Right. So create applications. First, we want to set up our environment, right? Uh, so the first thing is setting up the environment to uh, program um, uh, in C Sharp, right? So to do that, we need to install a software called Visual Studio IDE. So let's go to the website and install Visual Studio IDE. So go to the browser and go to this link. Right. So you can freely download free version of Visual Studio. Right. The latest one is Visual Studio 2022. So here you can download the community version. Here click on the free download, then the setup will be downloaded and you can install it in your computer, right. So then we will straight away go to create our first uh, program, right? So first we will start by creating our uh, hello world program, right? So right. So then here I'm going to create a new project. And here search console app, create a console app with C sharp language, right? Right. Let's name it as hello world. Right. So I will save it uh, in my uh, in my desktop. Right. So this is the uh, Visual Studio Code interface, right? Uh, Here we have a toolbox. So right, when we are developing uh, Windows Forms apps, we can they give us tools like input fields, labels, buttons, likewise. So then we have this toolbar and we have the solution explorer. So we will get the idea when we are developing uh, the our main application. So here, first, let's say console console dot write line write line hello world. Hello world. So I'm telling the computer console dot write line hello world. Write this text in the console. That's what I'm saying, right? Then, uh, so let's run this, right? Uh, right. You can see the program run and got like terminated. Straight away got terminated, right? So, so what we want to do is uh, we want to wait till the result is showing. Like here, straight away the program gets run and get terminated, right? So we can't see the output straight away. So we say console dot read key, read key, right? So what this will do is this will make the program to wait until the result is shown. Like this will make the uh, program wait, right? So let's save it and run. Right. Now we can see the result hello world in a console. So this is a console application. That means the output will be shown. The program will be run on the console and you can see the text in the console. Right. So the this is how we write hello world in C sharp with uh, using Visual Studio, right? So, um, so now let's try to understand this code, right? Now let's try to understand this code. So, right, remember we had three keywords, right? Right. I told uh, in the uh, definition of the C sharp, it said that a C sharp is a statically typed, object oriented, and object oriented uh, a programming language that runs on .NET framework, right? So, what is object oriented mean? Right? What do we mean by object oriented? Right? Object oriented means like imagine like we think like object oriented is a programming paradigm, right? So so we think everything as a real world object. Like imagine you have a toy shop, right? So in this toy shop, you are the owner, and you sell toys, and the customers will buy, and you let's say you have an employee working for your shop, right? So in our program, we create separate like separate class for the owner, separate class for the employee, separate class for the item, right? Separate class for the customer. Likewise, we built our program like thinking like real world objects, right? So that's why, right, we will go it deeper when we continue the lesson. So in here, when we understanding the code, uh, we can see first it says using system, right? So using system means uh, we are telling the program to use the system namespace. So a namespace can contain multiple classes. A class is something is like a structure or a blueprint of something, a blueprint of a object, right? Right. So then uh, we have a class, one class, and uh, we have the main method of that class, right? So when we run this program, the computer will execute the main method of uh, the program class, right? So the program will run the main code under the main method, right? Right. Okay. Um, right. So we have created the console application, right? So first you needed to create a new project, then select console app, then name your project and give the location, and you can write console.write line uh, and your text, and console.read key to uh, get the to tell the computer wait until the result is shown, right? Okay, right. Then the program had a namespace, a class, a main method, and the main method had the statements to execute. The program got the program executed the code under the main method, right? Right. So so we need so C sharp is a case sensitive language, right? What do we mean by case sensitive? Case sensitive means, right? Let's say we have two variables. Like I will tell you what is a variable in a bit, right? Let's say we have a string name, and let's say, okay, right. I have a variable and I have initialized a value to that variable as my name, right? So can I create another variable with the same name, right? See, the program gives me an error. A local variable function named name is already defined in this scope. Then, so we can't create another variable with the same name, right? What happens if I make this capital N? So now I can create another variable. So it means the C sharp is case sensitive. That means so it is considering this simple letter word as a one letter, and the letter that contains a capital letter as a separate letter. So separate word. So that is case sensitive. Then every line should end with a semicolon, right? So here it gives me an error, right? It's saying semicolon is expected. So you have to enter every line the end every line with a semicolon, right? Right. And the program execute start at the main method. Right. So the program execution start at the main method. Right. So uh, you can develop that hello world application. Right. So now we will discuss more about object oriented paradigm, right? So what do we mean by a program paradigm? Like, right? What is a program paradigm? So a program paradigm is like a paradigm means the way we do something, right? So program paradigms means the way we develop programs, right? So there are mainly two programming paradigms. Uh, Two programming paradigms: imperative and declarative programming paradigm. Right? In imperative programming, in imperative programming paradigm, we tell the computer how to do something. Right? We tell the computer how to do something. Right? So let's see in this example, there is an array which contains 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? So we want to get the total. So what we are doing is we are using a for loop for each number in this array. Total is uh, uh, we tell the computer to iterate through that array and add it to the uh, total, right? That's how we get the total, right? So in this loop, first we will get the letter 1, then add it to the total variable, right? The initial value is 0, then it will be 1. Then it will go to the second value, that is 2, and uh, add it to the total. Then the total will be 3. 1 plus 2 is 3. Then 3, 4, 5 likewise, and he gave us the output. So we are telling how you should do it, right? That is imperative programming. So then there's declarative programming. Declarative programming means we tell the computer what we want. What we want, right? Right. So in this example, you can see there is a array, and we tell we want the total sum numbers and print the total, right? Right. So we only say we want the sum. So we tell what we want, right? So C sharp is a language that we use in imperative programming. Like object oriented is imperative programming paradigm. So there we tell what we want to do, right? How to do. Like we tell how to do it. So declarative programming is like you heard about like React.js, right? There we tell what we want, right? So uh, object oriented is a imperative programming design programming paradigm. So let's understand what is object oriented progression. You can see there's a term object. Everything is objects, right? So what is an object? Right? Like object is something that represent a real world entity, right? Real world entity, right? Like uh, I think you have done in your let's say fundamentals of programming subject. I think you have created you have developed application with C++, likewise, I think. So there we C++ had the main method. Then let's say we want to create a console application to calculate two numbers. Like what we did, we initialize integer first number integer number one as let's say 10. Then we define another integer number two is equal to 20. Then we get total is equals number one. Then we use uh, uh, add add operator and plus operator. Then we say number two. So total assignment operator number one at the number two, right? So, like there we so it was a very small application. So we have used like it was procedural, right? The program got executed line by line, right? Now imagine we want to build a large scale application. Like I think I'll get the previous example, right? A toy shop, right? You want you have a toy shop and you want to build an application to your toy shop, right? Can you build that application the in the same way? Like can you build a console application for them for your toy shop? No, right? So it will be very difficult. Like you can't actually. So in your toy shop, like we have to first understand the business process, right? You have you are the owner, right? Owner, we have a owner, then we have an employee, then we have items, then we have a client, right? So client comes and uh, request some item. So then the employee has to update the system. Like first we need to check whether the item is items is available in the stocks. So uh, then we have to calculate how many items are in the stock. Likewise, there is a business process, right? So if it is a big process for building that kind of application. So in object-oriented programming design, what we consider is we think everything as like real world object, right? We create, right, like everything as a real world object. So like let's say right. Let's say we consider everything as a object, right? Imagine a car, right? A car is a real world entity, right? Real world entity. So everything is a, a car is a real world entity. Then uh, that entity has mainly two things like attributes and behaviors. Like the if we consider about a car, we can think uh, like OOP is a way of designing and organizing your code by modeling it around objects which represents real world entities, right? Then object is a combination of two things, attributes and behaviors. So let's imagine a car. A car has attributes. What are the attributes? A car will have a color, brand, and speed, right? Likewise, uh, right, right. A brand, color, speed. Those are properties, right? Attributes of that entity. Then it will have behaviors like to run the car, we need to start the engine, right? Then if we want to uh, drive faster, we have to accelerate it. Then if you want to stop the car, we need to brake, right? Those are the functionalities. Like basically, a real when we consider about a real world entity, it has attributes. Like if we consider about a student has a name, age, like that describe which describe the that entity, and it has behaviors like he can run, he can study likewise. Because of the car, it has a brand, color, a maximum speed. Those are properties, right? And it has functions like behaviors or methods. Uh, if we want to drive the car, we have to start the engine, right? If we want to go faster, we need to accelerate. If we want to brake, like if we want to stop, we need to brake. Likewise, those are the functionalities. So, uh, in a in object-oriented programming, also we have classes, and each class has two things: properties and uh, behavior, properties and methods, right? So this is an example uh, 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 of a uh, object-oriented program, right? Let's say, uh, right, let's create another program, file, new project. Uh, Here I'm creating a console lab, right? Let's name it as rectangle application. So I will say in this location, so I got a new project, right? So uh, what I want to do is, uh, we know uh, what I want to do is, I want to get a get the uh, area, get the area of a rectangle, right? Let's say I'm giving the input as like I'm giving the input of length and the height. Uh, then I want to get the area of the rectangle, right? So how can we create that uh, program with using object-oriented method? Right. First, let's consider how we do it in the procedural way, right? If we want to do it in the procedural way, what we do is I'm creating a variable called int. Let's say length. Email. Let's say length is 10, right? Then int uh, height or width is let's say 5. So I know the area is getting by length multiplied by width, right? So uh, in area is equal to length multiply by width, right? Then I'm telling, okay, console dot write line area. Then I need to take console dot read line to so, right. Right. So if I run this, I'm getting the area as 50. So this is the procedural way, right? So this is not what I want to do. I want to do it in the uh, in object-oriented way, right? So, so right. So then I will comment this code. I will comment this code. Then, uh, rather than doing it like this, I told you in object-oriented programming, we think like real-world object, right? So I will create real-world entities, right? So I will create a class, let's say uh, rectangle, let's say rectangle. Then I will open a bracket. So, hmm, right. So I know uh, uh, a rectangle has a length and a width. So I say, okay, a rectangle has a length and a width, right? Then, so, so then I'm telling, okay, these are the attributes. So, and I know if I, it has a method as well, right? If I want to get the area, I know I have to multiply length with the width, right? So I'm saying, uh, let's say get, if I want to get width, right? Width, I want to, like, let's say I want to, length multiply by width, right? So, right. So let's say console dot write line by width. Okay, right. So this give me an error. Let's see. Must have a return type. Okay. So this is called a function. So we describe uh like I told you that in object-oriented programming, everything is a real-world entity. Real-world entity had two things, attributes and properties. Attributes are, we can define them with as variables, right? We can define them as variables. And functionalities, we define them with functions, right? So if I want to get a width, I'm using a function called get width, open bracket, then open curly braces, console dot write line length multiply by width. Okay, right. So it tell me you a method must have a return type. What is the return type? Return is what I'm returning from this uh, what I am returning from this uh, function. So this will return length multiplied by width, both are integers. So it will return an integer, right? So, right. Still it gives me an error. Program, uh, not all code paths return a value. So then I will, rather than a console.write, I am saying return length multiplied by width. Okay? Right. Right. Then, uh, so you can see here the class is the structure, right? So I want to create an instance from this class, right? It's like creating blocks, right? We create blocks with the like a structure, like in Sinhala we call like කඩොල් කපන කඩොල් කපද්දී අපිට තියෙනවා ඒකේ රාමු නේද රාමුවේ අපි මැටි ටික දාලා ගඩොලක් ඒ වගේ ඒ රාමුව තමයි මේ class එක, right? It's the structure. So we need to have another variable, another function to get user inputs for length and the width. So I will create uh, another variable as set length and width, another function, right? Right. Then it will take two parameters, integer value for the length, right? Integer value for the length and uh, integer value for the width. Then I will set this class's length as the uh, length is returned, right? Right. Dot length. Let's say user input length and length user input width. Okay, right. So input width. So then is equal user length and is dot width equals user input width, right? Right. Uh, and it's telling me you must have a return type. So you can see this function is not returning anything, right? This should not return. This is not returning anything. This function is just taking the user input length and the user input width and setting them for this variable, right? So this function taking two parameters, length and the width, and it is setting length and width. Okay, so this does not returning anything. So if it does not return anything, we can say void. Does not return anything, right? Okay. So, yeah. So, uh, so here I came, here I come here and say I want to create a new rectangle. Let's say rectangle one. I want to create a new rectangle. So this is how we create an object from the class, right? We had a class called rectangle, and here I have created another an object from that class, right? ඒක හරියට අපි කඩොල් ස්ට්‍රක්චර් එක භාවිතා කරලා කඩොලක් කැපුවා. හරිද? අන්න ඒ වගේ. So I have created the object. So in this case, what I had to do, right? I had two numbers. I want to get length with the I want to get the area. So here I can do it for only one. If I have another rectangle with let's say length is 20 and with 50, I have to write another code like this, another code like this to get the area of the first rectangle. This is the first rectangle. If I have another rectangle, say second rectangle, I have to get the length of second, width of second, and area of second, right? Like so, I have to write the same code again, right? Here, what I do, so rather than doing like that, I have created an object from the class for the first rectangle. So I'm telling rectangle first, rectangle first, then with uh, first one was 10. Yeah, uh, spot. Okay, it's giving me an error. So program rectangle length and width is inaccessible due to its protection level. Okay, what that means, right? Even though this class, sorry, even though this class has a class have a function, I can't access it, right? I can't access it because this is only this function is only accessible within this class. By default is only accessed within this class. So this is called access modifiers. Access modifiers. By default, it has a uh, private private access modifier. So this can be written as private, private, right? So this is only accessible within the class, right? So, right. There is another uh, access modifier called public. So this is public to this function can call uh, uh, we can call this function uh, uh, outside the like if you right outside the rectangle class. Like here you can see I'm in the main method. Now I can access that function. So if it is private, I can't access. Right. Right. If it is private, I can't access it. Right. There's another access modifier called protect. Protect. If it is protected, this function uh, can access by this class and its subclasses. So we will discuss further about when we are discussing about OOP principles, right? OOP principles. So now we discussing about what is OOP, right? So when we developing the application, our main application, we will discuss about OOP principles, right? Inheritance, what is abstraction, what is polymorphism. Likewise, we will discuss. So, so we have to make this public. Okay, you got it. Right. Uh, Now I can access this function outside the outside its class. Okay. Right. Now I'm telling uh, dot get width. Width. Okay. And I'm typing telling to also dot right line that width. Okay. Good. Okay. Right. Then uh, width. So let's run. So I get the same answer as 50, right? Right. So, so if I have another rectangle to get the area, do I need to code again, right? Like here? No, right? So this was for the first one. So if I have another rectangle, I can create uh, another object from that class. Rectangle R2 is equal new. To create an object from a class, we use the keyword new, right? We use using new keyword, we create the class instance of classes, right? Oh, that means objects, we create object, right? So I'm saying rectangle 2's uh, length and width was uh, let's say 20 and 100. Okay, then I'm saying points over dot line um, about R2 width. Let's say I'm saying right. So do I need to code again? No, right? I can create another instance of that class and get the width of the second rectangle, right? So let's run. You can see I get the first rectangle in the area as 50 and the second one's area as 2000. Right. So that's how we design programs with object oriented method. So we think everything as a real world entity. So each entity has two things, attributes and methods. So attributes uh, and methods. Right. So then using that class, we create objects. The instance of that, uh, an instance of that class. Uh, okay. So uh, uh, what is a variable? Right? Mem variable. These are variables, right? So variables represents the uh, attributes. So what is a variable? So variable is like a box, right? Variable is like a box to keep things, to store data, right? A variable is like a box to store data, right? So you can think when someone asks you what is a variable, you can think it is a box to uh, store values, right? Like, like let's say, uh, like for example, string name Alice, right? In our rectangle, in our class example, we had two variables, like two member variables, length and width, right? To hold the length and the width. Okay, right. A rectangle has two member variables, names, length and width. So in the variable, this is called, let's create another variable. I want to create a variable called, uh, let's say, uh, dog name. Dog name, right? Right. And I want to keep right, my dog's name as Shelly. Shelly, right? So, right. So when we are creating a variable, we need to define the type. So remember C sharp, what is C sharp? C sharp was statically typed statically typed object-oriented programming language. So what do we mean by statically typed? So when we are creating a variable, we need to define the data type, right? So when we are creating a variable, we need to tell the computer what type of variable is that. Is this? Like I'm saying, this is a string, right? This is a string. So I told you that a variable is a box. It is a box that can keep a name, right? Then can keep some. So what it can keep? It can keep a string, right? It can keep a string. So these are called the data type. Data type. Each variable has a data type and the variable name. And to assign a value to this variable, we use the assignment operator, right? So you can see I have a variable dog name, which is a string type variable, and I have assigned a value called Jelly to that variable. So that is how we define a variable in C sharp, right? So we need to give data type, variable name, and the assignment. Using the assignment operator, we assign the value. Okay, right. So what is keyword? So we saw when we creating a variable, we have to give a variable name. Keywords are reserved words of that language. So we can't use them as our variable names. So right. So you can see float, for, int. Those are reserved keywords. So the term int is reserved for representing integers. So we can't create a variable like variable as int then 10. Right? We can't create. Right? Mm. It gives us an error. Right? Because int is a reserved keyword. So let's say it to number. I can create a variable like that. Right? Okay. So keywords are reserved words of that language. So these are the reserved words of C sharp. So these are called syntaxes, right? Each language is built with syntaxes. So these are reserved syntaxes, right? So we can't use them as our variable names. So then we saw uh, uh, in our class we had functions. Functions represented uh, methods or functionality, right? So right, get the width we were using a function called get width, oh, right? It returned length multiplied by width, right? So what is a function? Function are set of statements that perform a specific task, right? So the member function of a class are declared within the class, right? Within the class, we have we have functions. These are called member functions. It is uh, it is a set of statements that performs a specific task. Like uh, in this case, it is performing the multiplication of length and the width. Okay, right. So right. So we saw what is an object. Object is an uh, instance of a class. So we created an object with the new keyword. Right? We create an object with the new keyword. Right. Right. So, right. Right. So identifier means the variable name. Like identifier means the variable name. So variable name or the class name, right? Name identifier. So these identifiers cannot uh, 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 the variable a variable cannot or a variable or a class name, the identifier means the name, right? This class's name is program, this is rectangle, right? This is the identifier. So this is the identifier. So 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 this identifier should start with uh, a word, right? We can't start it with the number, right? Right. This gives an error. Or we can't start it with the number, or uh, we can't start it with the number, or the variable can't keep the special name, can't keep the special characters. Like I can't say dog plus dog at me. I can't say like that, right? A variable name should start with the letter or an underscore. Let's say I'm not, I can write it like this: underscore my dog name, right? Those are the let's say uh, identifiers, right? Each variable had a variable name and the data type. So what is data type? As I told you, data type is the in what kind of data this variable can store, right? So data type defines what kind of data this variable can store. So so can I put my dog's name as 10, right? No, I get an error. So implicitly convert integer to string. The error is I can't store an integer in a string type variable. So so right. So so then what uh, in the programming language, so there is mainly um, like three type of data, right? So what are we? We have numbers, then we have characters, then we have what? Then we have booleans, right? So we have numbers, characters, and booleans. So numbers can be either whole numbers or uh, decimal numbers, right? Right? Or then uh, then we have characters. Characters can be single character or multi characters. Then we have booleans. Either this is true or false. And those are the mainly three kind of data there are. Right? We are talking about data. We can see these are three type of like three type of things. There are three type of things. Like we have we have numbers, we have characters, then we have like true or false, and we have boolean, right? So to store these, we have data types. Boolean is for like so why there is different uh, type of values and different type of variables for each of these. Like let's say like like if it is a number, like what kind of operations we can do. Like if it is a number, we should be able to like do mathematical operations, right? Like, to get the sum, division, multiplication, equal to like a concat two words like this, right? Concat two words. So if it is a like Boolean, in a Boolean case, we should be able to check uh, is it true, is it false, like this, right? So there is uh, there is data types in that purpose, right? So if we want to separately identify what type of variable is this, right? So if it is a number, we can do mathematical operation. If it is a character or string, we can do the operation related to that boolean, the operations related to that, right? Then you can see if it is like for a number, also there are integers, long integers, floating point numbers, double, decimal, likewise. So why like why is that? Like for number also we have byte, integers, float, decimal, and for the characters we have char and uh, string, likewise. Then we have boolean, likewise. So why? So for number we have three different types. Why? So you can see, right? You can see like how much I told you. A variable is a box to store value, right? So like let's say we only want to get like 10, the maximum value we will be getting is number 10, right? But we allocate space to store 1,000, right? That's a waste of memory, right? You can understand. So if the maximum value we get is 10, why we allocate memory to store 1,000? So that is a waste of our memory. So when we develop our programs, we should design our programs in a way to be memory efficient. Right? We should use our RAM. So these variables we get created in RAM. Right? So in so so in these variables will be getting created in the RAM, right? So we should be assigning values like to be memory efficient. I think you got the point, right? So, so let's create this. Uh, so we will create to get an idea about. We will create another program. You create. Uh, so we will create another program. So so we will create a C sharp console app. Right. Let's name it as so so I want so imagine I want uh, I have I have two variables to I want to uh, identify how much memory is being allocated to that variable, right? So I name it as data type application type application. So let's create that. Okay. So this is my app. So let's say I have an int as number one. I'm not assigning any value. Then I have a double as number two. Then I have let's say u int int number three. U int. Then I have let's say char uh, character one. Let's say let's I have a string. I'm saying void. Okay, right. So I want to check how much memory is been allocated to each of these variable. So uh, there is a function called size of. Right? There is a method called size of. So I can use that. So it is defining in the system namespace. So I'm saying console dot write line saying size size of number. So I'm saying that is allocated size for for number one is is as this size of number is 4. I think it's double. For the size of function, we have to pass the data type. So job. Right? You see, the computer saying, the program is saying me allocate size of integer is 4 bits, double is 8 bits, unit is 4 bits, char is 2 bits, right? Right. Why this is giving me an error, like for the string? Right. So can you read the error? You can see the string does not have a predefined size. Therefore, size of can only be used in unsafe context. So size of uh, method or function cannot be used because the string does not have a predefined size. That means what? The value, the 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 size will be uh, based. The size will be based on the value we are assigning to that string type variable. Let's say, let's make it word one. And let's say, let's say it is uh, hello world. ENC, right? So then I can say I can't use size of for the string. I can say word one dot length. Okay, word one dot length. Okay, so I will commit these things. I just want to get the effect. Yes, this you can see. Let's run this. Is 40. Okay, then let's get another word. Mhm. Right. Let's see. Uh, Let's see. It is different, right? So for a string, the allocated size will be based on the value we assign. Okay. So 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 we had data types, right? Data types were basically three uh, types: numbers, characters, and boolean. Okay, right. So The numbers were integers, floating point numbers, doubles likewise. So the the objective of having different data types was to allocate memory that it requires. Okay. Uh, Based on the data type, we can do operations. If it is number, we can do mathematical operation. If it is a string, we can do uh, the the concat, then comparison. Likewise, we can do that operation. And if it is a boolean, we can check whether it is true, it is false, likewise. Okay. So if I go back and remember our uh, the definition, we saw C sharp is a statically type, object oriented, and uh, 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 object-oriented programming language that's running on .NET Framework. So we are clear, it's running on .NET Framework. So what is .NET Framework? A framework is a pre-built toolkit. So .NET is a toolkit or toolkit to create C sharp applications, not only C sharp. So we can create Python or like those applications. Right? So it gave us the structure, or it gave us the pre-built libraries tools to create, like let's say web, if we want to create a web application, we have ASP.NET, right? If we want to create a connect with database, we have ADO.NET. So we don't need to write code from the scratch to connect with the database. That's what a framework is doing. Okay. Then then we saw C sharp is object-oriented programming language. So rather than creating like a procedural way, we think like when we creating a large-scale applications, we think from object-oriented perspective, right? Like we think uh, like real world entities. Like if we want to create a system for, like say, toy shop, we think of, oh yes, oh the toy shop will have a, or will have a will have customers, will have will have employees, will have items. Likewise, so each employee will have attributes. Like he will have a ID, he will have a salary, and he will do these items. He will add items to the stock. He will purchase items likewise, and like a customer will make a order. Likewise, the each entity have two things: attributes and behaviors or methods. Right. So we understood that by the rectangle example. Okay. So now we are clear. We clear with .NET Framework and the object-oriented concept. Then now we are clear with data, why it is calling statically type, right? So we have to tell which this variable is a integer type variable. This variable is a float type variable like this. So what happened with, then you can understand what happened with dynamically typed variable. Dynamically typed language. So JavaScript is a dynamically typed language. So it has only three type of variables like var, const, and let. Right? So everything is created as var, let, or const. Right? So what is the difference? So what is the advantage or the disadvantage? So everything is like, if it is a number, it is const number one. If it is a string, const name. Likewise, we create with that three data types. So what is the advantage? So 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 the advantage is, so the computer will uh, assign the data type based on the allocated value. So we don't need to implicitly say this is an integer type variable, this is a float type variable. Likewise, in C sharp, we have to say that, but in when we consider about JavaScript or that kind of a programming language, so the variable type will be um, defined with the allocated type. And we saw uh, uh, and we saw for the for an integer it will allocate 4 bytes. Likewise, then we saw so a special case, if it is a string, the allocating type allocating memory space will be based on the value we assign to that variable. Okay, so that's it. So right, now let's move on. So our objective of this module is to, at the end of these 4 weeks, to create a web application. So a web application is in a web application, um, you can for a web application think about Facebook. So right, we browse from a browser to the Facebook. So Facebook is not running on our computer; it is running on somewhere else. So right, so when we browse to that URL, the application is loading in our browser. Those kind of applications are called web applications. So the application is running on somewhere else. We call that a server, and we access that application or the system or the program using our browser, right? So we use ASP.NET to create web applications, right? Okay, so we can create many applications with .NET. I told you, .NET is a toolkit, right? It is a toolkit. We can create many things. So to create a web application, it has dot C sharp ASP.NET, right? Then to create we can to create a desktop application, like if you want to create an application that's run on your computer, right? Let's say uh, uh, something like uh, something like this, right, in my computer I have installed Visual Studio Code. So I have installed this software in my computer, right? I have installed this computer software in my computer. So I to use this application, I have to install it, and this will be running on my computer. So to we can create that kind of application. These are called desktop applications, right? So standalone application. So to create this kind of application, uh, we have web forms. Sorry, we have Windows forms, right? So uh, we can create Windows Forms app, right? Uh, Likewise, so uh, right, so our objective is to creating a web application. So web applications are uh, as to create a web application, we use ASP.NET that comes with uh, .NET framework. So before I go into that, we have to understand some basics, right? So we now up to this point we understood what is object oriented, how to create a class, how to create a uh, how to create an instance of that class or objects from that class. Right? We learn those things, right? So in every programming language, we have four. basic things, right? So first thing is how to create variables. So then these variables can be like variables. Then we need to learn about data structures like arrays, lists, likewise. So it is related with variables. Then we have conditional statements and loops. So those are the main four things that create an application, right? So what is a conditional statement? So what is a conditional statement? So what is a conditional statement? So a conditional statement is something like we check like whether is this whether we check one condition. If this condition is true, we tell the computer you do this. If it is false, you do this. Right? So let's create another program. New, new project. First, we create a console that let's say name as uh, conditional statements example example. So you create that right conditional statements example right here. So let's say I have a variable integer age. Let's say my age is uh, let's say someone's age is 80, right? 80. So, so I want to print, uh, I have a variable called age. Let's first do not initialize any values. I have a variable called age. So I want to print if the age is less than 18, the person should not legally entitled to get married. So he is considering as a child. Okay. So if he's older than 18, he is legally can legally get married. Okay. So so I want to, how can I do this? So this is a condition, right? You can see I want to check whether his age is less than 18 or whether his age is greater than or equal to 8. So I have to use conditional statement. So conditional statements is we can say if age is less than 18, I'm telling computer console dot write line you are still a child. Okay. right? Then comes a else. Else console dot write line. I'm saying welcome helper. Okay, right. So let's assign 70. So uh, not treat line. Let's run this program. Yeah, you are still at side because the value is 70. Right. Okay. Now let's make it stop and we change the value as 20. Yeah, it's saying welcome aboard. Okay. Um, yeah. So that is a conditional state. So, okay. Hmm, let's say I want to say uh, if he's 80, I still don't want him to get married. So you can say I still don't want him to get married. I want to tell him, please consider about your decision, right? So you can see I need to check now three things. Is his age is less than 18 or is his age is greater than 18 or is he 18? Is his age is equal to 18? So in that case, we can use nested if statements. So if we want to check more than like one condition, we have to use we have to use nested if statements. So we can say else if age is equal to 18, our age is equal. I have to use double equals to check whether its age is equal. This is called comparison operator. You can manually, but but consider your decision, right? So let's make his age 20. Let's make his age 17. State child. Let's make his age exactly 18. Marry one levels. So you can see based on this value in check the condition, and if false, it is false, he is skipping these statements, right? He is skipping these things and he's go to next condition. He's checking, we execute these statements and ignore based on the condition, the statements will get executed. Okay, right. So, so uh, I was telling us, so to check condition, we can use there's another way called switch case statements. So we will discuss it later. Then imagine if you have only two conditions, like is let's say if you want only two conditions, you can use a ternary ternary operator. operator. So here what you do, uh, age is less than 18 if age is less than 18, say you are still a child, as welcome help. So if you have only two conditions to check, you can use the ternary operator. Here I'm checking, is the age is less than 18? Yes, do this, else do this. Okay. So if you have more than one condition to check, you have to use, you can use a nested if statement. If you have only one statement to check, one condition to check, you can use the ternary operator. Okay. So hope you are familiar with conditional statements. So along the way, I will discuss with you about the switch case statement. Right. Yeah. So that is the conditional statement. Then we need to discuss about loops. Okay. So what is a loop? What do we mean by loop? Yeah. Right. Let's say uh, uh, let's say simple, very simple example. Let's say I want to say hello to you 5 times. I want to say hello 5 times, right, in my console. How can I do that? So I how to create something in console. I have a control dot right line. I want to say hello, hello, right, right. So I want print it 5 times, 5 times, right. So let's turn this out. See this. So Yes, right. At the end, I have to say console or feedback. I go hello 5 times. Okay. Uh, Now think. What if I want to print this 100 times? Right. So can I write it 100 times? So it is difficult, right? So if we want to do the a thing iteratively, so if we want to do a thing iteratively, we use loops. Right? So loops let you program execute a block of code multiple times. If we want to do something iteratively, we use a loop, right? So let's say rather than like this, say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We comment this out, right? So, uh, so I'm saying, okay, so I want to iteratively, I want to write this. I'm saying for int I equals 0. Okay, I'm saying int initial value is 0 until I become less than 5, less than 5, you do this, until you do this, right? Initially, I is 0 until I become less than 5. You do this. After like I 0 is checking. Is I 0? Yes, initial value 0. Then is I is less than 5? Yes, 0 is less than 5. You execute this and make increment I by 1. I by 1. Okay. So what we will do is initially I is 0 is checking is I less than 5. Yes, he will print this. Then he will increment I by 1. Okay. Then again now I is 1. He is checking is I less than 5. Yes, he will execute this. He will he will execute this again and increment I by 1. Now I is 2. And check is I less than 5. Yes, increment this code. Execute this code. Yes. Then increment I by 1. Now I is 3. Until I became 5. And if I is 4, 4 is less than 5. Yes, he will increment this by 1. Then increment I by 1. Now I is 5. Is 5 less than 5? No. He will break from this loop and execute this line. So hope you understood. So if I want to run this, now I get I 5 times. Okay. So if I want to print this until 100 times, what I have to do? I have to make only this line 100. So he will go till 100. Okay. So we will run this. You can see hello is getting print 100 times. Okay. So that is loops. Okay. So there is another type called do while loops. Let's say uh, uh, let's say in a scenario I have like this. Um, uh, Here in the same case I can use this approach as well. Right. This is how I use a for loop. Here I can use a do while loop as well. I'm telling do okay, I have an integer num count, let's say count. Initially it is 0 while count is 5. Okay, count is 5. Right. Then I'm saying count plus plus. Okay. So if I run this game, you can see I'm getting print hello one time. Meanwhile, so here I have to do this until count is less than 5. So let's run this. I get 5 times. Okay. So, um, right. So, uh, here I can use for loop or do while. So, um, like, let's say, uh, uh, let's make this I is equal 1 if I is 10, initial value is 10, then I want to check from till I is less than 10. So what do you think will be the output? Is this will run? So what do you think the output? So I is 10 and it's checking is I less than 10. So this should not run, right? Uh, right. We get. nothing. Okay, right. So let's do the same thing with uh, do while loop. So count is, let's say, 10. Let's say 10. Let's run this. You can see I get hello, right? So why this happen is it's execute do condition before it's execute do the statements under do at least one time, right? So uh, for loop will not run because he is checking the condition first. Like is I less than is I initialize 10? Is it less than 10? If so, he will execute the statements under for loop. So here he will do this and check the condition. So here this will run at least one time. Okay. So hope you got the difference between do while loop and the while loop. Um, right. So yeah. So so uh, so we have today discussed about mainly about C sharp. We introduced C sharp as a statically typed object-oriented programming language which runs on .NET framework. So we discussed what is a framework and what is .NET framework. Then we understood what is object oriented programming and what is object oriented paradigm. So we saw everything is an object and each object has uh, attributes and methods. So from that rectangle example, we understood how we program with object orientation concept. Then we discuss about variables and data types and keywords. First, we discuss about keywords. So we saw there is some reserved words as keywords, so we can't use them as our variable names or class names. So let's say uh, identifiers. So then we have discussed about uh, uh, object orientation principles. Then uh, our we discussed as our objective is course is to discuss a web application at the end of this module. So we discuss what is a web application. Then we can use ASP.NET to create web applications, right? In .NET Framework, there's a tool as ASP.NET, so we can use that to create web applications, right? So then to create an application, we need to be familiar with like in every application, there is four main concepts like functions, loops, variables, conditional statements, right? Those are the four things we need to understand. So we learned how to create a define a variable, then how to create a conditional statement, basically if else. Then we have uh, loops, like we learn about for loop and do while loop. Then then we need to discuss about uh, next week we will discuss about data structures, mainly about arrays, and I want to discuss with you about exception handling and the object-oriented principles like inheritance, polymorphism, abstractions, those things. Then we will move on to creating our web application, right? So the next week we will discuss about object orientation, exception handling, those topics, and after that, straight away we will develop our web application. So at the end of this module, you will have to submit a report on creating a web application. Okay, so so let's wind up for today. Uh, so thank you for joining in, and so please refer this video. So I will upload this to the cloud, and yeah, a good night, everyone.